So today we're going to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is how handcuffs function. Alright man, take a seat, buckle up. Ordinarily we'd start with orientation of the car here, but we got calls pending and we got to get to them. So, we're rolling. We're going to have to learn on the way. Alright, Now, sadly, I'm not going to be able to talk about how all handcuffs function because I don't have examples of all handcuffs. I have this simple example here. These are Smith & Wesson Model 100s, and this is the most common type of handcuff that you're going to run into in the United States that police officers and security guards use. This is most of the time if you go into a loss prevention office or security company or onto a police officer's duty belt or into the back of a prisoner van, this is what you're going to find either on a belt, hanging on a wall in the loss prevention office, or in a big black bag inside the prisoner van or paddy wagon. This topic came up on the comment section. Somebody asked about if I could do a video of how handcuffs work. And specifically the reason why they wanted to have a video on how handcuffs work was that they work for a security company where they are not allowed to have handcuffs, and subsequently they don't have any training on handcuffs. And that kind of struck me as an odd thing because if you are not allowed to have the handcuffs, not having training on how to use handcuffs when working security seems like a terrible idea, because at some point if you're working security, no matter how light duty the security that you're doing, at some point you're going to run into handcuffs and have to deal with them, whether it's because there's a fight and the police come out and hand you a pair of handcuffs, or somebody puts handcuffs on someone and you have to figure out how to take them off, or they end up falling on the ground in the course of a fight, or you're walk into a loss prevention office somewhere because you're assisting another security company, if you're mall security or something like that. Having training on handcuffs, at least a little bit, is really, really critical for a security guard, regardless of what type of equipment your company uses. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the simple function of how these work. They're not a very complex tool. Handcuffs, if you've ever seen on TV, they just go around the wrist of the individual that you need restrained, and they are then double locked. So the first thing you need to know about putting cuffs on someone is you want the locking mechanism to the back of their wrist so that when the wrists are together, it's palms facing out. Now there's a couple of good reasons for this, and one is that it makes it a lot harder to get to the lock mechanisms, especially with the keyholes up. And the other is it makes it really easy to double lock these cuffs and to take the cuffs off. So I don't have a glorious assistant today, not like I very often do, but we're going to look at just one side of these cuffs and explain how double locking works. So when you put the cuffs on, here's our single wrist that we're going to apply the cuffs to. We're going to do just one side here. You apply the handcuffs and ratchet down. Now it's important to check for fit. You want to be able to get at least 2 fingers between the wrist and the cuff, and you want to make sure the cuff isn't digging in at any point along the edge of the wrist, so that way we don't create any undue or unintended injuries to the person that we're handcuffing. And then we apply the double lock. So in here is a little tiny piece of steel. Let's see if we can get it on camera. Yeah, you see that? You see that right there? That little tiny bar in the middle. Now, depending on the model of handcuff, it may either be a little bar in the middle of a slot here. It might be a lever on the side of the cuff or a hole on the side of the cuff. And all you have to do is slide that little bar over. Now you can see there's no little bar in there. Now what this does is it locks the bow, this area of the cuff, it locks it so that it can't go closed any further. It can't close up on you. So what this does is it prevents the handcuff from getting tighter and causing any injury to the person. It also makes it harder to take the cuff off. So on top of locking the cuff in place, in order to get the cuffs off, instead of just a simple application of the key and a turn in one direction to get the cuff off, you now have to turn the key the opposite way, which takes the double lock off. You can see the little bar is back there in the middle. And then we can turn the key the other way and get the cuff off. Now, of course, this is identical for application on the other side because they're just duplicates of each other, the two handcuffs and the chain or bar or hinge that's in the middle of them. Now some handcuffs, like the ASP handcuffs, have keyholes on both sides of the cuffs. So some are a little easier to take off than this, but this is what you're generally going to run into when you run into handcuffs on the street. This is literally the least you should know about handcuffs. You should get a handcuffing class from your company, and if you're carrying handcuffs, you need to get a handcuffing class because there are liability concerns with handcuffing people and legal concerns with handcuffing people as well. But if you're going to work security, this is definitely the very least you should know. If you like this type of knowledge and want to be able to get more of it and to help the channel out, please head over to the Patreon page up there in the corner. There should be a little link that'll take you there. For $1 a month, you can get this stuff in advance and you can help us make these videos better and get them out to you. Also, if you are a regular watcher of the channel, you could have seen this video 3 weeks ago, right after I rendered it, because I post all these videos up on the Patreon page directly after I make them, and then they get released on a schedule on a weekly basis. You guys be safe out there, whether you have handcuffs or not, and we will see you next week. Well, if you like that video, go ahead and subscribe, because there's a whole lot more to come. As soon as I finish up these calls, go 10-8. County 291. 291.